Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Roll Call. As always, we have randomly determined what kind of species and class we're going to do today from the new 2024 Player's Handbook. So today we are making a Goliath fighter. And not just any Goliath fighter, this is going to be a Cloud Giant Goliath fighter, because Goliaths actually have to choose a giant ancestry. And we're going to go with Cloud, and I'll tell you why when we get to that in a bit. Their character name, again, as randomly determined through Zenithor's Guide. This time I went with the Norse table, since, a lot of Norse mythology is known for its giants. So this character, his name is going to be Fritjof, and sorry, anyone in those countries with that have that name, I don't know if I pronounced that right, but I think I did. So sorry if I did not. And we're going to give him the name Cloudrunner because, again, you'll see this character is going to be very, very mobile. Speaking of, the speed for Goliaths is actually 35 feet, so they get an extra 35 feet of speed. They're going to be a fighter, of course, as established. For subclass, though, this time we are going with a Psy Warrior fighter. I decided to go Psy Warrior. I was really kind of struggling which subclass to go with. Battle Master is pretty much the mainstay for most fighters. You ask anyone, Battle Master is a good time. Then there's Champion. Champion's like the bread and butter, but it's basically just crit fishing. It's nothing really to write home about. Then they have the Elder's Knight, which, if I'm going to be honest, I didn't want to go through choosing spells. Again, that's a very time-consuming thing. So I feel the Psy Warrior is a nice one, because I feel like not a lot of people know it. It was in Tasha's Cauldron of Everything. It is now in the 2024 Player's Handbook as well. But it is a nice subclass. It's very fun. It's, not the same as the others, obviously, but I think it's one where, if you like the flavor of it, it's a fun time. So we're going to go with that. So now, for species traits, as established, they are a Cloud Giant, which means they get an ability called Cloud's Jaunt. Now, what Cloud's Jaunt is, it's actually really simple. It's, I believe it's a bonus action, but you get to basically teleport 30 feet. So already we have a character that has an extra 5 feet of speed, and then they can teleport on top of that. And if my memory is correct and it is a bonus action, they can teleport as a bonus action and then use their action to bonk people on the head with their weapon, which is always nice. Let's see. The other thing they get is they get Powerful Build. Now, this gives you two things. It gives you advantage to end grapple, and it makes you one size larger for the purpose of calculating carrying capacity. So, they're useful, but they're probably not going to be anyone's go-to pick over other things, but it's nice to have. And especially if you're going to be a fighter, you could very well end up getting grappled quite a bit. So we're going to go ahead and put that in there. For background, I'm going to cheat a bit today. Normally I just go by the rules, but of course, I just read the 2024 Dungeon Master's Guide, which had the custom background. So we're going to be making a sage, but we're going to be making a different type of sage, because we're going to change up their feat, and we're going to change up which stats that they get boost to. So let's see here. Hit die for the fighter is D10. Of course, we are making a level 3 character, as always. For hit points, starting at level 1, you get 10 plus your constitution, then we're level 3. Each level after that is 6 plus con. Our constitution is going to end up being 14, and if memory serves, that's a plus 2 modifier. So that's basically 8 and 8 is 16. 16 and another 10 is 26, plus another 2 is going to be, hold on, I can do this, I can math. 16, 26, so it's going to be 28. And then we're going to end up taking the tough feat, so that's 8 plus another 6. So that's 28 plus 6 is 34, if my math is right. Please don't check my math. I am terrible at math, even basic math, especially trying to do it in my head here. But speaking of, We should also fill out our stats too. Their strength score, that's going to be the first stat that we put +2 into, and it's going to be a 15, so we're going to make it a 17. We're mostly using the standard array for the fighter that they have in the book. We are changing up a couple things though. The dexterity is going to be 14. The constitution is going to be 13, but then we're going to give it +1, so that's another 14. We have intelligence. We are going to do intelligence as 12. I kind of imagine this as not quite a monk. Like, I imagine that Fritjof, is, just well studied, very disciplined, and so as a result, like, his intelligence is going to be a little higher. Wisdom is just going to be a flat 10, just like it is. And then charisma is going to be the one that we are actually going to dump. In the player's handbook, they have these switched where charisma is 12 and the intelligence is 8. We're just going to switch it up because we can. Alright, so next up, in terms of tool proficiencies, we get calligraphy. So we're going to do that. Calligraphy right there. That comes from the Sage background. We're not going to be changing that one. Again, I imagine this like almost as a borderline monk, just slightly different. For skills, we get bonuses in Arcana and History. There we go, and that's the other reason why I made this score that. And in fact, while we're at it, let's make sure we add our modifiers. 12 is a +1, 10 is a +0, 8 is a -1. Constitution, 14 is going to be +2. It basically goes up every 2 levels, so that's also going to be a +2. And then the 17 is going to be a +3. I hope that I did that right. I'm going by memory because I don't want to go flipping through the book on you guys that much. Strength for the fighter subclass, their saves are going to be in strength, and they're going to be in constitution. So even though our constitution could, in theory, be higher, that's still a pretty solid state. You're still getting that +2. Even if we did that as the 14 and then +1, we'd still be at +2. So our constitution modifier isn't getting any smaller. But at the same time, we have dexterity, and that's going to be nice on the off chance that we want to do any sort of ranged weapon strikes. Alright, moving on to proficiencies. As a fighter, you get proficiency in everything. Light, medium, heavy, and shields. And then you get proficiency in simple and martial weapons, so we're just going to put all, because all the weapons in the one too many L's. Because all of the weapons in the player's handbook are either simple or martial, therefore you have all weapons. Then for fighter skills, we are going to take perception, because that's always a nice one to have so that you don't get ambushed by things. And then we're also going to take insight. These are just nice little things to have. I imagine as a Psi warrior, like they have their psychic powers, are just a little more aware of things, both how people are acting and things around them, and so that's what those are going to represent. There are other skills that you can take. Those are just the ones I went with. Next, at level 2 in Fighter, you get a fighting style. Now, I kind of debated about this one a bit too, because there's a lot of different fighting style feats you can take. They recommend going with Protector, I believe it was. Let's see here. Fighting style. Oh, defense is recommended. Basically the same thing. It's it involves you using your shield and protecting people next to you. But there's everything from ranged fighting style. There's blind fighting. I almost went with two weapon fighting because I do want to handle that at some point. But at the same time, I think the thing that fits with this better is interception. Now, the way the interception fighting style works is when an enemy within 5 feet of you is getting attacked by another enemy, instead of doing what the Protector does, and I believe it just adds AC to your fellow player. What interception does is you roll a dice, I believe it's a D10, and it actually reduces the damage by that amount. So I think that's a little better, because again, I'm imagining this as a Psi warrior where, like, if the sword's coming in, the arrow's coming in, they kind of do like the force push thing, kind of like knock it just a little bit out of the way, or just like gone entirely. So yeah, so we're gonna go with that. Next thing you get second wind, and basically you can use this to regain a small number of hit points. Again, nothing that's going to be entirely game changing, but enough to where like if you're down and like maybe you don't have healing available, that's going to be a useful thing to have. You just pop it, get a little HP back, go right back to fighting. Next, you get weapon masteries. Fighters get 3 different weapon masteries. The ones you choose are going to depend on what weapons you start with. You can start with the ones they give you in the book. As always, I like to just give my players a flat gold, and we'll actually fill that in now. Between their background and their class, they are going to have 205 gold pieces to play with, and that can buy you a lot of different weapons. So choose wisely, but choose the ones that you're going to have, because those are the ones you're going to want to use. Next, they get Action Surge. And what Action Surge does is you basically get an extra action that you can use. So you can do 2 actions in a turn. The exception is it can't be the magic action. So it used to be that like a lot of like wizards, sorcerers might dip into fighter for a couple levels to get that action surge, so that they can start doing multiple actions per turn. That doesn't work anymore, so I'm sure wizards out there are very disappointed, but it is what it is. Again, we're working under the assumption this is just going to be a pure fighter from 1 to 20, and we're only going to level 3, so that's all we're going to worry about. Next, okay, so let's go here, because I don't remember this one. Okay, Tactical Mind. What Tactical Mind does is it allows you to basically take your second wind charge of your second wind, and whenever you fail an ability check, you can expend that use of your second wind, and you get to roll a d10, and you add the number rolled to the check. So that's one where that would be used, honestly, that would be useful in the grapple. You already have advantage to get out of there, but let's say even with the advantage you fail, you roll a dice, you add it to it, and you can get out of there. So that's again, very useful thing to have. Fighters aren't normally the skill people, but at the same time, it's always useful to have skills, and it's always useful to have ways to use those skills. So now we're going to get into the Psy Warrior proper, and this is going to be a wordy one. As of level 3, the only thing they get, I say the only thing, but it's really like 3 things in one, is they get their psionic power. And there are a lot of things you can do with this, so I'm just going to put my notes here, and I'm going to read directly, because this is a lot. Psionic power. You harbor a wellspring of psionic energy within yourself. It is represented by your psionic energy dice, which fuel powers from this subclass. The Psi Warrior Energy Dice table shows you the die size and the number of these dice you have when you reach certain fighter levels. So, at level 3, your Psi Energy size is a d6, and you get 4 of those. Any features in this subclass that use a psionic energy die use only dice from this subclass. So in other words, I believe it's the Soul Knife. The Soul Knife Rogue also has psionic energy die. You're not allowed to double dip. So if you use a subclass from a feature from the Psi Warrior subclass, you have to use from that pool of psionic energy die. If you use something from the Soul Knife subclass, you have to use from the Soul Knife energy die. As specified in the power's description, and you can't use power if it requires you to use the die when all your energy die are expended. Makes sense. You regain 1 of your expended psionic energy die when you finish a short rest, and you regain all of them on a long rest. Now here's what you can do with all those nice psionic energy die. Protective Field, and again, this is why I went with Interception. When you or another creature you see within 30 feet of you takes damage, you can take a reaction to expend 1 psionic energy die, roll the die, and reduce the damage taken by the number rolled plus your intelligence modifier, minimum reduction of 1, which again is also why we're boosting up that intelligence a bit. Again, it's not super important for the Psy Warrior, and I would say you could probably, especially since if you're doing heavy armor and strength, you could probably switch Dex and Intelligence. But for now, we're just going to go with the 1 Intelligence. But again, imagine combining Interception with Psionic Power. That's pretty powerful. Like, even if you don't reduce it to 0 with one, you can reduce it to 0 with the other. Psionic Strike. You can propel your weapons with Psionic Force. Once on each of your turns, immediately after you hit a target within 30 feet of yourself, with an attack and deal damage to it with a weapon, you can expend 1 Psionic Energy die, rolling it and dealing force damage to the target equal to the number rolled plus your Intelligence modifier. So again, you don't have to defend your fellow allies, but you can also use it to deal bonus damage. Now here's the useful one. This is why I like this. Telekinetic movement. You can move an object or a creature with your mind. As a magic action, choose one target you see within 30 feet of yourself. The target must be a loose object that is large or smaller, or one willing creature other than you. Transport the target up to 30 feet to an unoccupied space you can see. Alternatively, if the object is a tiny object, you can transport it to or from your hand. Once you take this action, you can't do so again until you finish a short or long rest Once you take this action, you can't do so again until you finish a short or long rest unless you expend a psionic energy die, no action required, to restore your use of it. So essentially, everyone gets a free one, and then after that you have to use psionic energy die to get that point back. But here's why this is interesting. Well, the thing to keep in mind is you can't do this to enemies, but you can do it to allies. But all it says is a creature. It doesn't say that creature can't be you. Otherwise, it would say a creature other than yourself. So, in theory, this is a magic action, and you also have a 30-foot teleport, and you have a 35-foot move speed. So, you could, in theory, assuming you don't have an action you want to do this turn, you could walk 35 feet, use your telekinetic movement to move yourself another 30 feet, and then use your teleport to go another 30 feet. So if you just focus all of your actions and bonus actions, because remember the Cloud's Jaunt is a bonus action, you could move 95 feet in one turn. Just one. And it gets better, because we're not going to have this on the level 3 character, but let me read you what level 7 will give you. You have mastered new ways to use your telekinetic abilities, as described below. Psi-Powered Leap. As a bonus action, you gain a fly speed equal to twice your speed until the end of the current turn. Once you take this bonus action, you can't do so again until you finish a short or long rest, unless you spend a psionic energy die, no action required, to restore your use of it. So, basically, if you use your teleport, or maybe even if you use this one, you can switch these. So, you can either, let's see here, so the telekinetic movement is a magic action, that's 30 feet. And then you can gain a fly speed. Or you can use a telekinetic movement, and then you can teleport after you move. You won't be able to teleport and do the Psi-Powered Leap because they're both bonus actions. But still, the amount of mobility this character has is insane. I don't think you realize how much it is. Like you are basically tripling the distance that you can do if you do the telekinetic movement and the teleport. That is insane. There's a YouTuber called Tulok the Barbarian, and he actually did he basically did like a bunch of his like character builds. It was like all the Avengers versus Thanos, and he ran it where like he was Thanos, but Thanos was like a level 40, basically the equivalent of a level 40 character in order to be formidable. And what happened is at one point, he's trying to get Thanos to peace out, and the guy playing Black Panther basically zipped from one side of the map to the other almost instantly and intercepts Thanos. And the one thing Tulok says, it's like, people always kind of make fun of me when I say, mobility options are positive, but then it's like, oh, I'm sorry, you were escaping, And this is why, like this is not even the extent of this build, but like this is just to level 3. Level 7, you now have an additional mobility option. And when you're a fighter, believe me, you're going to want to zip across that battlefield, especially if it's a large one, especially if your allies are in danger. Because consider this, like we mentioned the interception. I believe the interception is a reaction that yeah, it has to be a reaction because it's on your turn. And psi power, let's see here. Oh, okay. So here's the thing. I made a little whoopsie. So interception is a reaction, and psionic power using the protective field is reaction. They're essentially the same thing, but you can use one, and then when you run out of that one, you can use the other. But the thing about it is that they're reactions, so you don't have to take those on your turn. So if you have an ally in trouble, and let's say it takes 95 feet of movement to get next to them, you can just cross the field, and then you're right next to them. And then, even though you can't attack because you've used your action, your bonus action, you can start reducing the damage done to them by whatever is attacking them. So yeah, it's a powerful build when you get down to it. No spells, so we're not going to worry about any of that. And also, let's go. Oh, technically we have the Tuffy. There we go. So we have the Tuffy now. The other thing I suppose you could do, and this would be a little bit of an odd build, because the Sage feat that you get from your origin is Magic Initiate Wizard, which means you can pick spells from the wizard spell list, and you can take them. You can take the feat multiple times, so you can use that to expand your spell list. And then, again, you could probably swap these two, boost your intelligence, and kind of focus on these two with maybe Constitution as a, secondary one, maybe like take fewer concentration spells. And then you can kind of be like a Psi Warrior Eldritch Knight kind of thing. Like it's weird because typically Eldritch Knights are the spellcasting warriors or spellcasting fighters. But again, you can do that dip, and especially if again, you don't have to do it repeatedly. You can take it the once just for like a few nice little bonus spells. But at the same time, like if you want to really lean into that hard, you could boost your spellcasting. Actually, wait, hold on a second. Let me check something. Let's see, Magic Initiate. Level 1 spell. You choose a level 1 spell from the same list you selected that beats cantrips. You always have that spell prepared. You can cast it once without a spell slot. Okay, so that would actually be a little less useful, because you would only be able to cast it without spell slots, because the Psi Warrior does not get spell slots. So, in the end, I think I made the right decision to go with the tough beat. But again, you can do that. It's not impossible. You just got to realize is that spell casting is not going to be your bread and butter. If you want that, you are going to want to go with the Eldritch Knight. So yeah, there we go. Here we have Fritjof Cloudrunner, the character that can, is more powerful than a locomotive and faster than a speeding bullet. So I hope you guys like that one. Oh, and the armor class. Armor class would be determined entirely by your heavy armor. We're going to go heavy armor with this one. Usually, they do not allow you to have dexterity bonuses on the armor. Some of them do, but like once you're going to get into that heavy plate armor, you are just going to have the flat AC that your armor gives you. If you want to take a shield, you can use the shield to boost your AC by another 2. But again, that's entirely up to you. The other thing you can do is keep in mind that with fighters, you don't have to go strength. Pretty much there's two type of fighters. You have strength fighters and you have dexterity fighters. If you go strength fighter, you are almost certainly going to want heavy armor, because that is going to be where all your AC comes from, because you're not going to necessarily be, popping points into dexterity to boost your AC, so you're just going to have the armor. But you could do a dex fighter, and in the case of a dex fighter, so let's just pretend for a moment that charisma and intelligence are what they are in the player's handbook for the baseline fighter. You would probably switch these. Because if you're going to be a dex fighter, you want your dexterity as high as possible, because that's not only going to be your damage dealing ability, that is going to be your AC, because the dex fighters are going to want lighter armor that allows them to boost their AC. The other thing to consider is if you do that, you'll probably want to take strength and dump it. Strength only has one skill associated with it. Strength saving throws are not entirely common. You're going to get a lot more dexterity even just between these two, and then even then, the intelligence, the various mental stats are also going to be more common than strength. So I would probably switch. So I'd probably put dexterity in charisma or intelligence, whichever one you have lowest. Then go ahead and put the 17 plus 3 in dexterity, and then dump strength as -1, because when you're a dex fighter, it's better to be quick than to be strong. So yeah, so that's Fritjof Cloudrunner. I hope you guys like that one. As always, do all the YouTube stuff, like, subscribe, hit the bell icon so you know when new videos are coming up. I did just join the Blue Sky app in an effort to try and promote my channel a little more. You can look me up there. It is literally just the same username. It's just the cryo. So I'm pretty easy to find. I do take the videos that when they drop here, and I post them on there to try and get the traffic up. But thank you for joining me, and as always, keep doing what makes you awesome. Thank you very much, and goodbye.